What is the Internet? The Internet is a huge network of computers. It links millions of computers around the world. No one owns the Internet. A nonprofit organization called the Internet Society watches over it. Individuals connect to the network through companies called service providers, which allow them to use the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web is a set of documents contained in pages and websites, groups of pages. These are connected by electronic words or pictures called hyperlinks. Computers use software called browsers to search and move around the web. Bright idea. Inventing the World Wide Web. British scientist Sir Timothy Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web in 1990. He created the first website for CERN, a scientific organization in Switzerland. Over the next 20 years, the web grew enormously. In 2008, Berners-Lee established the World Wide Web Foundation. The foundation aims to expand the web and keep it free to use and open to everyone. In 2010, experts figured out that the web contained nearly 15 billion pages. This is what a portable computer looked like in the 1980s, before the Internet existed. Wireless networks. Portable computers use a wireless network, sometimes called Wi-Fi, to connect to the Internet. The network sends information along wires to a device called a router. The router turns the information into radio waves. A computer within its range can pick up these signals. Each Wi-Fi area is called a hotspot. The number of free-to-use hotspots in libraries, stores, and cafes is increasing. From QWERTY to mousy. Some handheld computers have a keyboard with the traditional QWERTY layout. It is named after the order of the first 6 letters in the top row. This system was introduced to typewriters in 1872. The mouse is another common handheld gadget. This pointing device moves a pointer, around the screen and is used for inputting commands. The touchpad on this laptop can also be used to control the cursor instead of a mouse. Touchpad. Touchscreen technology. Touchscreens are perfect for portable computers because they do away with the separate keyboard. Instead, the traditional QWERTY layout appears on the screen. One of the most common touchscreen technologies works by storing electricity. The stored electricity is harmless. It is called an electrical charge. When you touch the screen with your finger, some of the charge moves to you. Then there is less charge on the screen. The drop in charge is measured at each corner of the screen. This allows the computer to calculate the exact position of the touch. Viruses. A computer virus is a program that can spread from one device to another by making copies of itself. Viruses can damage or destroy a computer's information. If a virus is attached to an email and sent to a computer, it can infect the computer when the attachment, file added, is opened. Many viruses can be found by antivirus software, which allows you to destroy them before they damage your computer. The touchscreen layout of letters on this tablet is the same as on a physical keyboard. Phones. Cell phones are the most popular handheld gadgets of the 21st century. In 1990, when cell phones were still new, there were 12 million cell phone users around the world. By 2010, there were about 4.6 billion cell phones in use. This was enough for one cell phone for more than 2/3 of the world's population. From walkie-talkies to cell phones. In 1943, a Canadian inventor named Donald Hings developed a phone that used radio waves. It did not need to be plugged into the wall. People could use it to have a two-way conversation. It became known as a walkie-talkie. Walkie-talkies were hugely successful. A U.S. telecommunications expert named Martin Cooper made the first public cell phone call in New York in 1973. His phone weighed 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds. Modern cells weigh less than 1/10 of that. It was another 10 years before cell phone service could be purchased. Early cell phones cost the equivalent of more than $7,500 today. Martin Cooper holds up one of his early handsets. It came to be known as the brick phone. Cell phones and cells. Cell phones are telephones that use radio waves to send the signal. When you make a call, a device called a receiver picks up the radio signal from your phone. It sends the signal on to another receiver, and so on, until it reaches a device called a transmitter near the person you are calling. The transmitter sends out signals to cell phones. The receivers and transmitters are called base stations. Each station covers an area of about 26 square kilometers, 10 square miles. This area is called a cell. Your cell phone uses a built-in antenna. This is a device that sends and receives radio signals. When you are near the edge of a base station cell, your phone's signal strength gets weaker. In a far-off area, you might have no signal at all. Who did that? Adding a new touch. In 1974, Dr. Samuel Hurst and his company, EWaste, created new technology. They made the world's first touchscreens. In 1999, Andrew Su developed a way to use touchscreens for cell phones. People started buying the first touch phones in 2006. This illustration shows how radio waves pass from cell to cell until they reach the base station closest to the receiver's phone. Base station, cell, caller, receiver. base station, cell. Smartphones. A smartphone does a lot more than make and take calls. It is really a handheld computer. You can use a smartphone to send and receive phone calls and messages, access the internet, send and receive email, find your position and the way to other places using information from satellites and maps. Read ebooks, electronic versions of printed books. Keep a calendar and address book. Take photographs and make movies. Play audio and video files. Do lots of other things using pieces of software that allow you to do things such as play games or draw cartoons. Is cell phone radiation harmful? Small amounts of the radio waves from cell phones go into the user's head. Some experts are worried about this. One study found that this low-level radiation could cause sleep problems, but another found that it could protect against Alzheimer's disease, a disease in which sufferers lose their memory in later life. Health experts say there is no evidence of harm, but they encourage people not to use their cell phones too much. Long-term research will probably tell us much more about radiation and how much people are affected by cell phone use. What does a SIM card do? SIM stands for Subscriber Identity Module. A SIM card is a portable memory chip. It has information about the personal details of a subscriber, the owner of the phone. The SIM card has two security passwords. There is a PIN, personal identification number, which you type in to make the phone work. And there is a PUK, personal unblocking key, which gets the SIM to work again if it has been locked. If you get your PIN wrong 3 times, your cell phone will lock you out. The PUK will let you in again. The SIM card contains all your personal information, including your phone book. You can take it out and put it into another phone to make it work for you. Standard and micro. Some phones use a new, smaller card called a micro SIM. This can also be used in a phone designed for the bigger standard SIM. You just need a plastic adapter card. The gold-colored memory chip of a SIM card sits in a piece of plastic. One corner of the plastic is cut off so that it cannot be put in a phone the wrong way. Cell phone apps. Smartphones come with a number of applications, known as apps, included. You can download more from the internet. Apple has more than 200,000 apps for its iPhone. For students, there are a dictionary and thesaurus, measurement units converter, study notes, school schedule manager, and world atlas. For cooks, there are recipes, shopping lists, and conversion tables for ingredients. Or you might want to play games such as solitaire, Harry Potter spells, or Scrabble. Short message service. Are you part of the thumb generation? That is, are you a texter? a sender of text messages. SMS stands for Short Message Service. This service, used in cell phones and other devices, started in 1992 and has grown very fast since then. It has its own shorthand versions of words, such as B4 for before and CU for see you. The smartphone attached to this bicycle uses an app of a compass. This shows the direction that the cyclist is traveling. Video, satellite, and cordless phones. Smartphones can use built-in cameras to send live video images across the world. This has done away with the need for separate video phones. Satellite phones are useful for journalists and emergency workers. They communicate with each other through satellites rather than base stations. There are no base stations in far-off parts of the world, but satellites can always be used. Cordless phones are simply handsets that connect by radio to base stations plugged into landlines. SMS SOS. On August 18, 2010, two British climbers were trapped in a storm 3,500 meters, 11,480 feet up in the Italian Alps. Stuck on a ledge above a steep rock face, they could not move in the freezing conditions. They could not get through to emergency numbers on their cell phones. Both men's phone batteries were low, but they managed to text a friend in Shrewsbury, England, more than 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles away. They gave their location. The friend phoned the Italian emergency service, and a helicopter was able to lift them off the mountain. Cell phones can be very useful in an emergency. Climbers have even made calls from the top of the world's highest peak, Mount Everest. E-waste. We all want the latest handheld gadgets. Models rarely last longer than a couple of years. Systems are upgraded, and new designs become available. But what do we do with our old computers and phones? The last thing we want to do is add to a mountain of electronic waste, or e-waste. Think of the waste if we just throw away our old cell phones. If we really need a new phone, we should make sure the old one is reused or recycled. What should we do? Electronic devices contain toxic, poisonous substances. They should never be thrown out with household trash. Many of the materials are recyclable. The device itself might be useful to someone else. So there are three main ways of dealing with the problem. Return the product to the manufacturer. Take it to a professional waste disposal facility. Donate it to a charity. We should also ask ourselves the question, do we really need the new model, or can we update the old one? What could manufacturers do? The environmental organization Greenpeace International says, our three demands are that companies should clean up their products by eliminating hazardous, dangerous substances, take back and recycle their products responsibly once they become obsolete, no longer usable. Reduce the climate, weather pattern impacts of their operations and products. Greenpeace also lists the greenest, least environmentally damaging companies every year. You can look this up if you want to check how green your own gadgets are. See page 46 for the web address. Staying private. Whatever you decide to do with your old computer, phone, or other gadget, you should first remove all your personal details. This means wiping all disks, drives, SIM cards, or other memory or storage devices. Remember to remove all address books and similar lists. This is just a small part of a large pile of e-waste. If we deal with old gadgets sensibly, we can help the planet.